My name is Tommy Crane. I'm one of the deputy fire marshals here with the City of Radcliffe Fire Department. Today's episode of 411, we want to talk to you about some things with it being cooler weather. We know that people are going to look at different ways to heat their home. We also know that with the holidays, a lot of people will use candles and things like that to make their home smell good, just to have that warm, warm, homely feeling. So we just wanted to make sure to just remind everybody of some certain things that they want to do in the holiday season. The first thing we're going to talk about is space heaters. Space heaters, they are much safer than they used to be. The operating temperatures you can usually get around between 200 and 300 degrees. So, but there's things that you want to remember that, like I said, they are built a lot safer. You want to look at investing in one that has tip over protection, especially if you have pets or kids. So if they get tipped over, they'll will actually shut off. The other thing you want to think of is even though space heaters do have an internal switch that once they get to a certain temperature, they will shut off. There are, as our demonstration with the plastic grocery bag showed, there are some materials that they don't take a lot of heat, and if they are too close to the space heater, they will begin to combust and catch fire. So you want to make sure that you give space heaters space. It's recommended you leave at least 3 feet of space between them. When you get a space heater out, this is an older one that I found. This one does not have tip over protection, and also the thermal protection is not as good. So as you can see, it's a little rusty. It's been in storage some, a little dusty. When you get them out, just make sure that you kind of check them, clean them up, make sure that nothing's gotten in there while you've had it in storage. No bugs or spiders or anything that's going to cause problems. You will, if you've had them, stored away for a while, you get them out, you will usually smell a little bit of a smell just because they've got dust on the coils and everything. You want to make sure that when you plug your space heater in, you plug it right into a wall outlet. You don't want to plug it into an extension cord or a power strip or anything like that. We're going to show you what happens. Now, a little bit of a side note on that. Some of our experiments that we're going to show you, we had to accelerate things. So, but it still gives you an idea, a visual of what's going to happen if you cover the cords with rugs, or if you plug them into extension cords, especially extension cords that are not a high enough rating. So you'll see how one of our cords actually started to melt because the space heater was pulling more energy, more electric through that cord than it was designed to handle. Always unplug your electric space heater at night when you go to bed. And when you're not, or at least when you're not in use. When you're leaving the room, leaving the house for a while, go ahead and unplug that space heater so that it's not there, with that risk and that concern. And then, like I said before, make sure that you keep 3 foot of space around it. So those are some things to remember. Jumping over to candles, I was a little disappointed. We tried very hard to make our candles explode, to give you kind of a realization of what can happen with candles. We have been on fire runs before where candles have exploded. Literally, the glass is broken apart and spread wax and fire around the area where it was. We also have been to fires where people have put the candle too close to some drapes or some curtains, and those have caught fire as well, especially if there's enough of a breeze to move things like that. So some things to remember about candles. Always check the condition of your candle. Make sure that the glass is not cracked, that it's in good shape. When you're looking at it, just make sure that it's in good condition. Make sure that, as you can see with this one where it's got a lot of soot, that means the wick is too tall. They recommend trimming the wick down to about 1/4 inch. That means it's going to burn good and even, so that you want to make sure of that. This one we did get to crack, however we put it under extreme stress. We actually used ice water, so do not use water to try to put out a candle fire. Not only will you risk making the glass crack or explode, but you can also make a little steam cloud that could burn you or burn someone around you. keep at least a 1/2 inch of wax in the bottom of the jar. This one here is actually way too low. So what happens is the jar itself is going to absorb a lot of that heat. So if it does you get a blast of cold air or something, like if it's too close to the door or window and somebody opens it, you could have that potential there. But keep at least a 1/2 inch of wax in the bottom to help absorb that heat and help keep from the fire potential there. Put it on a stable surface, stable flat surface on a table or something like that, especially away from kids and pets. We know cats, like to climb and jump on things. So make it sure that you keep it away from kids and pets, because that is an open flame. And if that flame gets too close to something and makes contact for long enough, you can have a fire. Keep it away from drafts. And also, just like I said, just make sure if you've got kids, pets, you've got company over, make sure that if the room's crowded, try to keep the candles where they're not going to get bumped over or knocked over, and keep at least a foot of space around the candle so that there's nothing combustible at least a foot away from them. Candles do smell good. They add a nice nice atmosphere to the room. But we recommend maybe using, if you're just wanting the lighting aspect, maybe use a battery operated candle. If you're wanting the smell, the fragrance from the candle, use a candle warmer, which you can actually set the candle on there. It's kind of like a little coffee mug warmer. Or you can also use the wax warmers that will actually melt the wax, and those are safer as well. So there's some things to remember about candles. One real quick thing, we weren't able to do an experiment with this, but with it being close to the holiday season, a lot of people like to fry turkeys. One real quick thing we want to talk about is just real quick on that, make sure that your turkey is completely thawed. Do not use a turkey that is even just a slight bit frozen, because the water and the hot oil will not mix. Also make sure on that, do not overfill the turkey fryer with oil, because remember, once you put that turkey in there, you're actually going to push that oil up and raise that oil level. So you risk spilling that hot oil around your fryer, thereby causing a possible fire as well. And then just make sure you keep it away from your house. Keep it, at least 10 feet away from the house, so if something does happen, you don't have it right next to your house. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to simulate, and it's a little bit faster than what would normally happen in your home, but we're trying to simulate what would happen if you have several devices that are overloading your cords and your devices. As you can see, the temperature right here has already reached over 100 degrees. What happened was we've got two extension cords plugged into each other, and you can see that the temperature is really hot. And then as we go through to where our space heaters are, you'll see that the cords, and obviously we don't want you to plug several space heaters in, but our goal is to show you how much heat they generate because of what they're doing. Now this is cooling down now because we actually wound up tripping our breaker, which was what it was supposed to do. So what we want to try to demonstrate is that how much the heat at the connections, overloading the space heaters. With thermal imagers off of our truck, what we're trying to do is to show how much the heat increases with the electricity flowing through multiple extension cords and into the space heaters. As you can see, the whiter part that we see is the actual the heat, and it's showing the different the degrees of the heat. You can also see the numbers, but you can actually see how much the connections have heated up with having the additional the heaters plugged in like that. Basically what we do is what we find a lot of times is people will plug space heaters into a couple of extension cords, and the cords are not high enough what we call amperage, so they will not they can't handle the amount of electricity is flowing through them. Now ideally, hopefully our breaker in our home would trip. The other thing is if we look at this connection over here, we look and see that it's almost 140 degrees. So 140 degrees, and then if you put that under a rug or a piece of carpet, something like that, it's because you don't want it to be a trip hazard, then you wind up, you actually help insulate it so that temperature could increase, thereby causing a greater fire hazard as well. So just putting a rug over top of that connection added about 20 degrees almost instantly. We can actually see the outline from the heat that the cord is producing. So we lift up the rug and we see the cord has now jumped over 200 degrees with the rug shielding it, and see the residual heat. So this is what happens a lot of times is people they'll cover the cord so it's not, it's unsightly. They don't want people to see it. All right, so we've been demonstrating how much heat builds up if you lay something over the rug, or if you lay a rug over the cord or the connection. So what we've done the second time is we've actually doubled up the rug, and the reason we're doing that is to simulate if you put extra pressure on, and just to show the increased heat buildup even from that. You saw with the thermal imager how just laying a rug, just a regular rug, not real thick rug, over top of that cord, how much the heat jumped up, over 200 degrees. So like I said, just doing it, on a day like today, not a big deal, but you have that in your home, and it's like that every day, day in and day out. You're turning your space heaters on, you're pulling all that current, electric current through there. It's going to build up that heat. And what we're doing is we're trying to make it happen faster. Granted, but it's the same concept. It's just it takes more time. So you just have to remember that electricity is building up heat. You have a lot of safety features built into your equipment. Your space heaters have different connections that will turn off once it gets to a certain temperature, or once some of them, the ones that we have for today's demonstration, have tip over. So as soon as they tip over, they'll shut off. But a lot of times what happens is we do things that might seem like a good idea, but over time can actually become a hazard. And so, like I said, the one thing is with we wanted to show you how much, if you plug in too much stuff, how much heat that causes for your cords and your connections, and then also if you cover those cords, the increased amount of heat that happens over time as well. How much heat there is just from laying it on top there, over 200 degrees. So, and obviously most of us don't have a thermal imager to run around our house and see how much heat is being built up, but that's why things like this are tested, and we're able to kind of just to give you a little bit of a visual. Obviously we're not in a UL laboratory where they test these things under different conditions, but we just wanted to kind of show everybody just a little, a quick visual of why we say, don't put cords under rugs or things like that. Why we don't plug, multiple space heaters into cords. So those are things that we just wanted to kind of go over today. Over time, that's what would be happening in your house. It may take a couple months, may take a year or so, but it's going to happen over time. So that's what we wanted to show you, is that that is what it would happen, and just to kind of make you aware of how you're plugging things in your home, how you're decorating your house, things like that during this winter season. So the next part we're going to finish up with is Christmas trees. Christmas tree safety, we want to make sure to remind everybody, a lot of people do use artificial trees. Personally, I like it. We have a pre-lit tree at home. It's got LED lights. Right now, if I want to have colored lights tonight, I can have color lights, and then I push the button and I can have clear lights for tomorrow. So I really like it. You don't have to worry about that. But a lot of people still like to use real trees because of just the tradition and things like that. So we want to remind you of a couple things. If you have a live tree, make sure that you water it well. That's the number one thing. Make sure that you water it well. When you first get the tree, it's recommended you cut about 2 inches off the bottom of the trunk to make sure, in case the sap has made like a little cap at the bottom. So cut that so that the tree will absorb the water more easily. Now also remember, the tree will absorb about 1 gallon of water the first 24 hours. So remember that, it will absorb a lot of water initially. And then also it will absorb about 1 quart a day. So make sure you're checking it daily and watering it daily. So like I said, about 1 quart a day is what it will absorb. Check the needles pretty regular. Check the needles when you buy one. Check that they make sure they don't come off in your hand very easily. If you rub the branches, you shouldn't have a pile of needles in your hand. Check the tips of the needles, make sure they're nice and green. They don't have a brown tinge to them, because you know that it's starting to dry out at that point. So make sure you check them. Make sure you check daily around the tree. Make sure you just brush the branches with your fingers. Check the lights and cords that you're going to use. You want to make sure that they are UL listed and they are designed for for being used around Christmas trees. And not just UL, there are other companies that are approved companies, but make sure that it is a company that has certified them. The other thing is make sure they're in good condition. You pull out the same set of cords every year, same set of lights every year. Make sure that they're in good condition. They haven't gotten worn out. There's no broken bulbs, anything like that, to possibly have an ignition source there. And they also keep your tree away from heating sources such as space heaters, candles, fireplaces, anything like that. The other thing is make sure that you don't put it too close to your exit, whether too close to a window or too close to a doorway, because in an emergency you want to make sure that that is not a potential way that is getting blocked, especially if it catches fire. The other thing to remember is, real quick, if you're going to put up a display in a church or a restaurant or anywhere what we consider an assembly, you cannot have a live tree in those places. Artificial trees are okay, but make sure that you do not use a live tree, in your churches or anything like that, because of the fire safety hazard there with several people around. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to demonstrate the difference in the how quickly a fresh tree will burn compared to a tree that has been not gotten enough water. So that's what we're going to try next. It's only like 96 right there in the middle now. You see, once it went up, it pretty much almost self-extinguished. It went back down to like 95 degrees. So yeah, which is good. I mean, Christmas tree experiment was to try to show how a tree that is well hydrated takes longer to burn, and also when you watch the video, you'll notice that the tree that was that had adequate water was actually pretty much self-extinguished itself. The tree that was dry, it took us a little longer to get it going, but once it got going, it continued to burn and it continued to get hotter, and increase. So we just wanted to, remind you if you're going to do a live tree, just make sure you water it well and just maintain it for the safety of hopefully preventing a fire. Once again, we want everybody to have a safe holiday season. We want everybody to have a good, safe, warm winter. Just be careful when you're using heating devices, when you're decorating, using candles, and your Christmas decorations, your holiday decorations. And just everybody have a safe and happy holidays, and have a safe, happy, warm winter. And thank you very much. My name's Tommy Crane, and this has been 411.